Hey YouTube order, you're getting the day off today because I'd much rather tell Treyarch to go fuck themselves. Motherfucker, I can't believe I forced myself into playing this horseshit again. Now, before I even get into talking about this pile of trash, I have to say this right off the bat. One of the stupidest fucking decisions I have ever seen in a video game was the inability to check your player card and stats before level 13. What the fuck? No, really, what the fuck was the purpose of not seeing your progress of stats before level 13? As you guys can see in my player card in the background, the player card is unlike any of the other ones I'm going to be showing. In the other Call of Duty games, I had the ability to go to the barracks or whatever the fuck and check my stats right off the bat without any restrictions. Here in Black Ops 1, I had to be level 13 in order to see that bullshit. Since I forced myself into playing this shit one more time in order to get a prestige token, I had prestige, played a game or two to make sure that shit was recognized, and then I completely walked away from it for the very last time. I walked away from it thinking I would never have to come back again. Well, fuck me, I'm back again, ain't I? Now, in each of the other games, the first thing I did was to head over to my stats. I recorded my stats before playing and then jumped right into the matches, and I posted those up as part of the series. In this game, I couldn't do it. I first had to play a few games in order to rank up to unlock my fucking player card. So unlike the other games in which my stats were untouched, these stats that you're seeing came after a number of games that I had to play in crap ups in order just to see the motherfucker. It's one of the many fucking flaws this game had. How the fuck can I not see my stats before level 13? What the fuck is the possible reason behind that? What is the reason? There is no fucking reason. Now, 2 videos ago, I said that World at War was by far the worst Call of Duty that I played, and I stand by that. From a game design to a technical standpoint, it's an abysmal game. However, Treyarch was put in a position to fail by Activision, and ultimately, they failed. So, it was understood why that game was bad. So what the fuck is the excuse for this piece of shit? There is no excuse. None. Not one fucking reason why this game should have been so horrible. Unlike World at War, Treyarch was not making another game at the time. Their entire studio was working on Black Ops 1. And keep in mind, Treyarch is one of the single largest studios in video games in terms of employees at just one location. They had over 200 employees, all in one building, working on this game, compared to the 70 that worked on Call of Duty 4 and the 90 to 100 that worked on Modern Warfare 2. So we're talking double the manpower now, double the resources of any Call of Duty game created, including World at War, which had to split their resources among 3 games. And because of the number of mistakes this game makes, without any excuse for their fuck-ups other than sheer incompetence, this is the Call of Duty game I can't stand more than others. More than Modern Warfare 3, World at War, and once again, the line that Treyarch does in each game is so brain-fucking staggering. It's a good thing they don't have Pinocchio working for them, because that motherfucker's nose would have gone all the way around the world by now. Just look at the number of lies Treyarch told at the start of this game. The game is unhackable. Meanwhile, there were 15 prestige lobbies the night the game came out. Quick scoping has been removed. Bullshit. All you did was randomize the location the scope zooms into, but otherwise, drag scoping was not affected. Some say it was actually made easier in this game. PlayStation 3 had its own development team. Unless they meant to say 3 people are porting the game as always, and that's a load of bullshit. PC was getting dedicated servers, yet the lag and frame rate drop in this game pretty much offset that fucking move. When questioned on whether or not theater mode creates lag, what did they say? Of course not. It's a completely separate function and has no bearing on the game connections. Meanwhile, just this year when Infinity Ward released Ghost, they all but confirmed theater mode was what caused lag all these years. When asked why Ghost didn't have theater mode, Mark Rubin said they learned from Modern Warfare 3 that theater mode affected the performance of rooms and taxed players' connections. In order to have a smoother gaming experience, it was removed to eliminate latency. Finally, someone admitted to what was suspected all those years ago. Theater mode is exactly what caused lag in Black Ops, Modern Warfare 3, and Black Ops 2. But the best one of all was the feature that allowed you to go directly to multiplayer and skip the intro screens. It was available on 360 at launch, but when asked about it in the PlayStation 3 version, what was their response? It's not possible due to the architecture of PlayStation 3. Sony had to get involved and tell them that's total bullshit. Since it's a developer's decision what they want to do with their loading screens, it had nothing to do with the architecture of the console. Shortly after, there was a patch to give PlayStation 3 players this exact feature. So much for architecture of a game not allowing it, right? Now, the majority of these lies would come from one of 2 people at the time, either their community manager, Josh Olin, or the top dickhead himself, David Vonderhart. Josh Olin was also the fucker that said lag doesn't exist, it's only in your head. He also said PlayStation 3 players complain too much about their versions of the game, so why should Treyarch worry about their console if they're just going to complain? When asked if he played the PlayStation 3 version, he said, our PlayStation 3 guys tell me it works fine. So in other words, you never played it, but you will say there is nothing wrong with it. Well, motherfucker, I don't live in Sierra Leone, so I guess that means I can say the Ebola virus breakout is working as intended. Give me a fucking break with this asshole, man. On a side note, that douche is so incompetent, the new company he worked for recently fired that cocksucker. He left Treyarch, went somewhere else, then got fired from that motherfucker. Good move. That asswipe piece of human garbage should never have a fucking job in video games to begin with. Again, nobody should hire that motherfucker. Let him go work bagging groceries at your local store. Now, much like World at War, the 360 version of the game and the PS3 version of the game, and you could probably even throw in the PC version of the game, play completely different. Completely different. The PlayStation 3 frame rate drop is a constant mess. You were never able to play in a room without frame rates dropping or lag. Never. You couldn't get a decent connection half the time, and while Treyarch said they were improving the host selection process, all they did was change the host to the person in the most central location. Didn't matter how good their connection was, it was still a shitty process. The campaign was just as fucked up. The majority of the missions had frame rate drops. You had that awful Vietnam mission in Khe Sanh where there was no indicator where the fuck to go. I mean, countless people died over and over and over again because there was no fucking arrows or objective markers to tell someone where to go. Escaping from Cuba, impossible to play with the frame rate drop. Constantly dropping to like 3 frame rates per week. But the most annoying technical part of the game was the constant freezing. I mean, constantly. My PlayStation 3 alone froze 4 straight times in the exact same place. 2 of my buddies froze in the exact same place. Right after you rappel down the mountain, you bust through the window, whatever the fuck it was, instant freeze. It was horrendous trying to play that shit and hoping your console didn't fucking hard freeze. Now, as for the campaign itself, at the very minimum, they got away from World War II. Almost, because of course they had to throw in that whole Nazi submarine thing in there. The stories and missions themselves were disjointed, but obviously they were being told by Mason his recollection of memories and shit like that. In order to get set pieces in Cuba and Vietnam and Laos and Russia, Treyarch had to find a way to make all of this shit flow. So memory recollection was their choice. Of course, the game has its own Fight Club moment with Reznov and shit like that, although I saw that twist coming a mile away. You know, there was that one mission where Reznov just shows the fuck up just like that, and then all of a sudden he's gone. That's when you knew the story was making Mason hallucinate up in this motherfucker. Now, when this game was initially marketed, I remember it being marketed as a Vietnam War era game. Meanwhile, what do we get? A whole 2 fucking missions in Vietnam? The game was mainly a Cold War game and tried to put the Bay of Pigs, Cuban Missile Crisis, and tie them to events of the Vietnam War all together. The game starts in 1961, has a couple of missions in that era, which then ends just a week before Kennedy's assassination. After the Kennedy assassination, things fast forward to 1968, where apparently Woods and Mason and sometimes Hudson become fucking world travelers and move from Vietnam to Korea to Laos back to Uzbekistan. I mean, let's just throw every other communist location and conflict into the mix and make this motherfucker even more convoluted. I mean, see, this was the problem with Modern Warfare 2, jumping from location to location with no reason, except this time it was all flashbacks. The explanation is that Mason is remembering these things, but what they don't tell you is that all the jumping back and forth is happening in a matter of days and weeks in the game. It's the World at War storytelling problem all over again. Sadly, most people probably didn't even pay attention to this shit. I mean, why let common sense get in the way of fucking fiction, right? It's just as disjointed as World at War and Modern Warfare 2, but people gave it a pass because these are flashbacks, man. Sure, Treyarch certainly told a better story this time around, but they just expected people to ignore history once again and pretend that these events occur so close to one another. Also, similar to World at War, the AI is once again some of the worst I have ever seen in any game. This time around, grenade spamming shit is gone, but the stupidity is still there. The AI will pop out in the same exact spots each and every time, and that's when they decide to take cover. For the most part, they just stand out in the open waiting to get shot because these soldiers are apparently fucking badasses. So in 2 years, and bragging that they fixed the AI, nothing got fixed. Even when you increase the difficulty of the game, they remain incredibly stupid. You watch the Viet Cong soldiers just stand there and stare at you instead of shooting you. Or the Russian soldiers protecting the missile, running towards you without even firing the gun. You know, I guess they forgot to move that bonsai attack in the World at War on that mission. The death animations were once again atrocious. It all seemed like they were all recycled once over again. So from a technical standpoint, the game is still a hot mess. You go from the small improvements that Modern Warfare 2 made to their AI, very small improvements, not large improvements, to the ass-backwards logic Treyarch uses, and it's awful. Now, once again, the only thing this game has going for them is zombies. Zombies has always been Treyarch's bread and butter mode, and if they would ever decide to just skip Call of Duty for a year and make a zombie game, I would probably buy the zombie game because we all know that's all they know how to make. Granted, Black Ops 1 still has lazy programming. It wasn't until Black Ops 2 that they created the full objectives with a definitive end to their zombies and shit like that, but at the very least, it's still the most entertaining part of their game. However, 2 lazy as shit program zombie maps is not enough to make me come back to this motherfucker, which leads me to multiplayer. I did a video long time ago that is still accurate to this day. 1 step forward, 2 steps backward. For every decent thing Treyarch did, they would do 2 things to overshadow their decent additions. For every feature they bragged about, it either didn't work on PlayStation 3 or it wasn't as good as advertised. For example, the best kill streak any Call of Duty game ever introduced was the Blackbird, only to be shit on by these one-hit dogs, which I need to rant about one more fucking time. Or you had rolling care pussy into something different, RCXD cars, which were the lowest earned lethal reward in any Call of Duty game to date, to the removal of stacking kill streaks, which is another thing I need to get into. They removed stopping power. You know, it's funny, I actually had a different reaction to this. Initially, I was pissed that they removed it, but Treyarch gave a great explanation as to why they removed it. Since people would just use the perk and nothing else in its tier, they wanted more variety. That actually made sense, so I started to warm up to the idea of them removing stopping power, only to see that it was the balance to Ghost in the game. Stopping power was always in the same tier as the radar avoiding perk, so without that, there was no reason not to take Ghost. It effectively made the spy planes useless in this game because it was rare for people to use Scavenger or Hardline unless they were rolling care pussy in this motherfucker. Second Chance was added to this game, and their response towards fixing it: give the kill to the person who put them in second chance as opposed to the assist if someone gets the kill. That's like telling someone you're gonna smash their hand in with a hammer instead of a spiked baseball bat. You're not doing us any favors unless you remove the perk entirely, you dumb shits. All of those things overshadow the decent fact that your perks now required a few unique challenges to go pro, which was actually one of the better ideas that they had. Not great, but it was better than having to get 500 pieces of equipment kills with sit rep or whatever the fucking Modern Warfare 2 or 1,000 miles with lightweight. Oh, fuck all that bullshit. We also got the wager matches and combat zones against bots, which were great additions. However, that was all compounded by the fact that we now had Call of Duty points. Really? What the fuck we need this shit for? This was beyond stupid, and it shows how little Treyarch thought this plan out. You need to unlock shit using currency or Call of Duty points. However, you also had to wait until the game allowed you to unlock that shit, or you reach the level to buy that motherfucker. What the fuck? Why are there double restrictions now? This isn't like any other game where once you hit level 10 or 15 or 20, you naturally unlock something, you get to use it. Now, you need money to buy that shit as well. This isn't a flat leveling system where everything costs money, you just need to save up and buy that shit. This is a leveling system and a currency system restricting players in 2 different ways. But guess what wasn't restricted? Cheap shit. You want Ghost? You want the ability to sit in a corner with an RCXD car and a silencer and second chance? Sure, just play 2 games and you can buy all of that shit and bitch your way through the prestige. Gun balance? Why bother? The AK-74U and FAMAS were all that were needed in this game. The majority of the shotguns were pointless. At least half the SMGs were outclassed by the 2 to 3 top ones that they had. Assault rifles boiled down to 3 weapons. The FAMAS until it got nerfed, the AUG, and the Galil, and in some cases the G11. The Galil alone, without extended mags, had more rounds than 2 of the LMGs without the additional drum, and only 5 bullets less than a third LMG. It made LMGs utterly pointless in the game, as you needed the drum to offset the weight that they added to the motherfuckers. Silencers became pointless because apparently the guns did less damage with a silencer. In the prior Call of Duty games, the silencer shortened the range a gun was affected, but with a silencer here, not only was the range affected, but the damage was as well. The sound alone from the silencer guns made it sound like a kid's toy, man. Did they even capture any sound quality with those guns? No, really. Why does that shit sound like a kid's clicker toy or something like that? Plus, the clicks don't even match the bullets. Shot for shot, Infinity Ward games made the bullets match each silent gun, well, with the exception of the P90 due to its high rate of fire. Black Ops? Not even close. Even without a silencer, the guns made these hollow sounds. Oh, and speaking of hollow sounds, what the fuck was up with the hit detection sound? I mean, where was the traditional thunk, you know, that we were all used to? Y'all know the thunk. It's the thunk that you get when you're in a Modern Warfare 2 game. That thunk is the best fucking sound because you know you killed something. Here, you get this hollow fart in a can sound that was absolutely dreadful. The one-hit kill dogs alone were easily the worst kill kill streak in the game up until the Ghost Guard though that we have now. Considering the irony, the Battle of Okinawa, which was in World at War, was the last time militaries used attack dogs in battle. It makes it utterly fucking laughable that they would include this in a Cold War era game. Dogs were not used to attack anymore. After World War II, they transitioned to support roles using the sharp senses like hearing and smell and shit like that. The idea that dogs would attack, let alone kill in one bite, was unfucking believable. And it makes it even funnier that they used the very same battle that ended that notion in World at War and shows how clueless Treyarch really is. The removal of stacked kill streaks was another item that absolutely pissed me off. We know that in Modern Warfare 2, they went overboard on their kill streaks and shit like that. There's no argument over that. But now Treyarch went in the extremely opposite route, making sure no kill streaks lead to another one. Alone, this is another decision. Like tanks, that was a bad idea, evidenced by the fact that we never saw it again in any Call of Duty after Black Ops 1. Here's what made this idea so stupid. How much skill does it take to place a claymore on the floor? No, really, think about it. How much skill does it take to put a claymore on the floor by a doorway, a staircase, whatever the fuck? Which, by the way, were fucking lethal once these shits went off. Now, how much skill did it take to control that goddamn Valkyrie rocket? That motherfucker was a pain in the ass. And you had to make sure you were outside at a point where you could fire it up in the air and find the target for blah. What the fuck, man? That shit was a pain in the ass. So why the fuck would a Claymore kill count, but a Valkyrie rocket kill would not count towards your kill streak? This was so fucking stupid. It wasn't even funny. I can understand restricting a helicopter kills flying around. You don't do anything with those. You have no control over what a helicopter kills. But how is a Claymore any different than a B-52 bomber? I placed both of them down. I hope it kills someone, yet one counts towards your kill streak while the other one does. It makes no logical sense to remove that functionality and put a greater emphasis on how important the black word was. Still the best damn kill streak today. But the biggest game killer for me was the lag. Lag. This game was horrifying at lag. There are no words to describe how bad the lag was in this game. At best, it was unplayable. At worst, the shit made me go into a flying fit of genocidal rage. The problem I had with this game is that it always put me in a room with a 3-bar connection. And then when I did have what appeared to be a 4-bar connection, the game continued to lag beyond belief. 4 bars was never 4 bars. 3 bars was the equivalent of 2 bars. 4 bars was the equivalent of 3 bars, or whatever the fuck. If I saw 2 bars, that was just an immediate rage quit. And as we've learned just a few years later, this was all due in part to the best addition to their game, Theater Mode. As I stated before, many people suspected Theater Mode was the culprit for lag, and that by turning it off, that would reduce the amount of lag this game had. Treyarch, of course, lied about that, and they said Theater Mode had no bearing on lag, and that lag didn't exist in the first place. However, as we learned this year with Ghost, the removal of Theater Mode is exactly what caused the lag. If you look at the 3 laggiest games in the series, what were they? The 3 that had Theater Mode so far. Treyarch created a cool product, but it was at the expense of lag and the expensive performance of the game. And even in a video I did years ago, I said I would rather sacrifice aesthetics for functionality. If giving up Theater Mode meant that it reduced the lag in the game, I would much rather give that up and play in a lag-free game. 3 years later, my wish finally came true with Ghost. The few videos of Black Ops 1 that I posted to my channel showed how fucking awful the game was for me. The majority of those games were 3-bar games. The majority show awful hit detection and tons of frame rate drops. You guys can probably go do a search, JLoco 11 Black Ops, and see how terrible the game was for me when it was actually back in style. I can deal with bullshit killing me. I can deal with people being connected to a shitty host like in Europe or something like that. But I got killed in Black Ops 1 because of lag. That's all that got me. Lag. When a game is lagging me out, it becomes unplayable, and that's what forced me to stop playing this bullshit. Much like World at War, after less than a week, I had already had it with this game. By the Saturday after this game released, I stopped playing it, and I just waited for Need for Speed Hot Pursuit to come out because I wanted to play that. And during the year, it was the newest Call of Duty. I played a number of games that I already mentioned on my channel, Assassin's Creed, Mass Effect 2, and I also bought shitty games just because I needed shit to play. Something like fucking SOCOM. Oh god, that fucking game. I only went back to this game after the first week in 3 separate instances. One was to see if this game got any better down the road, and I even did a funny video in my return to Crap Ops. It was still a 3-bar connection, so I stopped playing after one day, but I did a funny video based on me getting back into playing this motherfucker. The second time I returned was a few days just to Prestige in order to get that Modern Warfare 3 Prestige token or whatever. Oh, another stupid fucking decision. I don't know why the hell I did that, man. Whatever, I'll get into that tomorrow. The third and final time I returned to this game is the footage you guys see in the background, and that was it. When we were doing this little weekend event and it was time to go play Black Ops 1 to get my footage, it was the one game I was dreading from the start. This and Modern Warfare 3. and it didn't disappoint with the amount of bullshit this game produced. There are only two good things that came out of Black Ops that affected my channel. One was the Hipfire commentary series. Since I hated Black Ops so much and there was no way I was going to play that shit, people still wanted to see content. So I started the Hipfire commentary series as a way of getting the content to show Black Ops on my channel. It was the only way people would see Call of Duty content from me is if others sent it to me. The second series was Mission Impossible, which started with a Black Ops game in which I needed to make entertaining. Sure enough, Mission Impossible was entertaining enough to get people to come back and watch it. Those are the only positive things I can take away from this game. At the end of the day, this game is a wretched piece of shit with no excuses. Treyarch had their entire staff working on this game, all hands on deck, and this is the piss poor product they produced. It was an abysmal PlayStation 3 version of the game that clearly suffers from being a shitty port. Because of how bad Treyarch's 2 games were, I was not going to buy another game from them. Because of their lying, I was damn sure never going to give them another fucking penny out of my pocket. Before Black Ops 2 was ever announced or released, I said I would not be buying the game no matter what it looked like. And the funny thing is, people doubted me. People in my video said, I will guarantee you buy Black Ops 2. And I told you, I'm telling you right now, I am not buying this bullshit. When I tell you I'm going to do something, I do it. I don't bullshit you guys. I will never buy another Treyarch Call of Duty product again. If they ever release a zombies game, I might consider that motherfucker. But as for Call of Duty, no. I will never purchase their bullshit again. I don't care what improvements they make. I don't care how good the game is. They lost me as a customer, and I will never go back. I'd rather play other games worth the money than this garbage they slap together for PlayStation each and every year. So thankfully, this video is finished, and there will never, ever be another Black Ops video on my channel again. Thank fuck, this shit is going in the fucking garbage. So as always, rate, comment, subscribe, and all the good shit. And one more video to go tomorrow, and you guys know which one that is.